have done the 5 biggest miscasts of the Marvel Universe, and I know that you boys were both chafing at the bit to go at both DCU and Fox's X-Men. So, one at a time, boys, time to unleash on one of the most inconsistent, sometimes good, but sometimes really bad
A lot of times
Fox
really bad.
X-Men series. Guys, your top, can you get me just down to 5 miscasts each? JP, I think
All
you've
right.
got 5 ready to go.
Yep. My fifth, I'll go 5 to 1. My fifth would be everyone who played Colossus in the movies except in Deadpool. Those were just really
Except in
bad.
Deadpool, right. The Colossus were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
So-
My fourth on my list is Vinnie Jones, who plays Juggernaut.
Yep.
Mm.
I just
You
thought.
didn't
I
like
just thought.
I'm the juggernaut, bitch.
Was
With
he English?
the
Is he
cement
English
helmet.
Is he English in the
In the comics.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like Professor X half brother.
Oh, wow, he's definitely not that.
Yeah, but he's not like. But the problem is the dude never stops being. What was that soccer movie about the fans that are like stupid dangerous?
Hooligans.
Oh, there's like-
Hooligans, right? It was hooligans juggernaut. Though I still love the fact that they used a meme. I always appreciate when movies pay attention to the internet, even if it was like 2 years late.
All right. What's number 3?
Number 3, Josh Brolin as Thanos.
Wait,
Josh-
are we doing MCU or just X-Men?
Well, Deadpool and Cable, they're not really they're not MCU yet. They're still part
Yeah,
of,
weren't we
like-
just doing X-Men?
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah.
X-Men. But
Yeah,
you said
oh,
Josh.
sorry, Josh Brolin as Cable. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Okay.
Sorry.
I thought he was pretty
Yeah.
good. I thought,
Nah,
why not?
because he's already Thanos, and it gets pretty distracting because it's Thanos as well. And
Well,
he's for me, he's too small to be he's like it because
you want that big gray hair Cable with a freaking huge arm with a band around him.
Well, the good thing about Josh Brolin, he's an actor, so he can actually do 2 different types of people, and you can believe him because he's an actor.
I don't think it's built to
All right.
be Cable.
Okay.
No, I'd rather have that guy from what's that movie? Avatar. That
Sam Worthington?
Oh yeah, no, the white hair, the dude who played the villain in
Oh
Avatar.
yeah, him.
That
All
guy.
right. Okay.
I can see
All
that.
right.
I
So number
see
2,
number 2, Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse and X-Men Apocalypse. I mean, he's a great actor. He did it well. Except
that was a bad casting.
again, Apocalypse has to be huge. They could have made him a bit bigger CGI or something, but visually, in X-Men Apocalypse, I didn't like it.
Okay. Number 1.
Number 1, don't hate me, but I'm gonna maintain that Hugh Jackman is too tall to be Wolverine.
You got a height
He's-
problem. You got a height problem. Did you think Elijah Wood was too big to be a hobbit? I mean, what's your deal with heights? Of all the things that a person brings to a role, height is just one of like a zillion different things.
Now the thing is,
Do you measure them?
Nah, in the comics he is really short, and it's one of the things that really is a big part of his character. I mean, they could have made him look smaller in the movies. That would have been great, but they didn't. He's just tall, and it's just distracting.
It's disruptive. It doesn't allow the fullness of the character because a Napoleon complex is part of that anger.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty, there we go. So there's your 5. Do you have anything? What do you think, Gift?
I mean, I get it. I think for me, there's a difference between bad role and bad casting. So
Yeah.
some things that I considered was a bad role, I don't consider to necessarily have been a bad casting. So that would make so some of my responses might be surprising. I'll use an example since I don't have to worry about her being on the list. Jennifer Lawrence, in my opinion, was not a bad casting, but she portrayed a bad role.
Poorly
So
written role. Yeah.
and her portrayal of it, the writing and the portrayal
Right.
of it. So
Yep.
she might have been the right feel, and I can understand why, but how she ended up depicting was wrong.
Yeah. I get you because I've got one of those on my list. I've got
Right. So for me, I'm speaking to ones that just did not match, and they also so happen to affect the rest of the role. I'm gonna use another example that we have here, so I help remove stuff off of the list here for you. Hugh Jackman was I don't feel was a bad casting. Just don't, or he was not a good casting, but he portrayed the role enough where the casting didn't matter. So I don't think he's a good Wolverine, but I get, but he did enough to make it work. Like physically, he's not a good casting, but he played the character in a way that was appealing and it did click, but to the extent of what the writing allowed it to do, because there's also limits of how much of the anger we got to see. But he did the Wolverine role well enough to make the Wolverine role relevant.
So is that in your top 5?
No, that's why I mentioned him. So I can remove stuff off of the list here.
Okay. So come
All
on,
right.
let's get to your top 5.
So number 5, James Marsden as Cyclops. That was, I could have put that as my number 1, but I feel like there's others that deserve the list. He should not have been Cyclops. Ironically, him and Hugh Jackman probably should have switched the roles, because that Cyclops, while he's supposed to be like the Boy Scout, who's like actually he's a great strategist, but he's not as morally ethical as he always tries to portray himself. He was not a leader. It wasn't a leader, and James Marsden doesn't portray himself as a leader. He was just a small guy, and then he came off like a punk, like the whole time.
So I've got, just to save us some time, he's on my top 5 as well. So I don't have to go back. And pretty much the same thing. He just is not intimidating.
At all.
And when he does go up against Wolverine, it's boys versus men.
Yeah.
Anyway, so off you go. Next one.
4, Taylor Kitsch as Gambit. I
forgot about him.
Look, I actually don't mind Taylor Kitsch because of Friday Night Lights, but that was a dumb casting. Like it was a dumb it was a bad accent. Like he was Texan. Like understand Louisiana is not Texas.
Yeah.
Alabama is not Louisiana. He didn't have the feel. He didn't have the look. He wasn't charming. He wasn't sly.
Yeah.
It was just.
So he was in one of those Wolverine movies, wasn't he? He was.
Yes, he was in the Wolverine Origins.
I forgot about him. If I remembered him, he would have been up in my list as well.
He was. Yeah.
Yep.
Gambit had to be charming.
Yeah, he did. There was nothing. He was just a guy in a bar that messed with cards. That was it.
Yeah, he was very underwhelming.
Very underwhelming.
All right, what else you got?
Number 3, Anna Paquin as Rogue. Do I have to say anything? Like,
yeah, you do, because I didn't think she was bad.
Right, fine. Rogue, as a Southern girl, even as a confused one, is one that is about realization and self-development over time. And of course, she has a presence. There's a presence to Rogue, which is why her and Gambit coming together was always such a great dynamic. Anna Paquin, has always played diminutive and scared. Even before, obviously this was before True Blood, but even in her roles prior to, it was always diminutive and scared. And there's nothing powerful about Anna Paquin. There's nothing powerful about like that gives you a presence. She doesn't have a presence where you're like, things could be all right, even if they're wrong. Her portrayal was terrible. It was just a bad look. It was a scared girl, and she just played the scared girl for every single movie. I blame that both on the writing and the actress.
Yeah,
And the
I mean, that's
casting.
that's exactly where they took her. So, yeah, that's where they took her.
Directly.
But she doesn't have the presence. And also not Southern. All right. Again,
Yeah, right.
you can get the Mississippi girl. All right. I don't care if it was the two. You can get the Mississippi girl that actually feels like she has Mississippi charm, not a Canadian masquerading as a Southerner, masquerading as a Southerner.
Yeah,
That's masquerading as an American, as everybody, a Northern United States American.
Okay.
Yeah, I get that.
Number
Who
two,
else?
it was like JP, Oscar Isaac as Apocalypse. Great actor, terrible casting, terrible role. It's almost as if they didn't read the comics, which isn't surprising because, of course, it's Bryan Singer, so he does whatever he wants.
Was that him? Yeah, it was him.
Yeah, it was Bryan
it was
Singer.
him. Yeah. Well,
So this is give little.
Yeah.
I mean, the costuming terrible. Like the dude who was a pharaoh in ancient Egypt is this diminutive nothing that we have here, and then
that's someone who's small. That's someone who's small.
And I really tried to give it a credit. I was like, nah, it's just the trailers. They're gonna beef it up. They're gonna get it right. No, never did.
No. And number one.
Number one is actually a twofer because they play the same character. So number one is both Alexandria Shipp and Halle Berry as Storm. That was the biggest drop. I mean, the absolute disrespect to Storm in just every single way. And yes, I know Angela Bassett rejected the role in 2000 because she wanted to do how Stella got her groove back, and nobody trusted hero movies at that point. But there was a chick from Firefly that was still sitting out there who would have been crushing it at minimum as the look of Storm. At minimum as the look of Storm.
But you have to say, Angela Bassett did the right move by rejecting the role because those movies are...
No, because 1, 2, 3 at the time when we were 1 and 2 at the time that we got it was the first time that we actually got a serious hero movie with the intent of showing it as a comic book movie and giving us something accurate. Looking back now, no, they weren't great. But from 2000 looking forward, that was groundbreaking because the only thing closest we had was Blade, and we didn't even know. I didn't. Blade was even a comic book movie. It just seemed like a hero movie. They didn't even mention Marvel whenever they talked about Blade. So X-Men was really the first time in 2000 that we got something. So no, I think it was regretful that she did because how Stella got her groove back did create a cult classic within the community that ended up being a complete and total lie of a movie as well too, because that husband ended up being gay and using her for actual citizenship fraud. But like it took away a role that they've never made Storm who she actually is. Like the goddess of the weather never came out through 9 movies. Not one depiction did we actually see Storm as powerful. So, and both of those roles were just terribly done. Halle Berry was too small, too diminutive. While I get why she took the role, it just
maybe it was the direction or the writing.
No. Oh well, I mean that's part of it too. That's all part of it. I mean, hers is interesting because she got onto the writers in the third one. Whatever the last X-Men, X-Men 3, and said, I need more
to do
character.
Honestly,
like I've got more character, and she was right, but she gave it by that stage. It had gone to.
It's too far gone.
What's his face?
That went to
the director, Brad. Was it Brad?
Yeah, the hero killer. Um,
and he and
Rapey McGee. We're gonna call him Rapey McGee since
yeah,
he's never
and
gonna be
he
working in Hollywood again.
and he stuffed up with that character, and it was all clumsy and nasty. She's on my list, and you know how you're talking about wanting people to be Texan or people from the Mississippi. I was really disappointed to hear that she was South African because there's none of that came through to me.
No,
Like
exactly.
none of that came through
None
to
of
me.
it
And
came
I've been
through.
to South Africa several times. I know lots of South Africans, and I would have loved her to. That would have been just a great element to bring to the role and add texture, and particularly when you're talking about mutants and you're talking about forms of apartheid, with what was doing with different things and segregation. South Africa is just like time to tap into something real, which is what those early movies were really good at.
Right.
Tap into something real, let the real and the real world and this fictional world collide through her character, and they just
They
never
wasted
went
it.
there.
They literally, and
They
honestly,
never.
look, I know it's gonna sound good, but I honestly think it's just because they didn't respect Storm. I'm gonna say she was black woman in that time. This was 2000s. It's not 2016 past 2000s. I don't think that they had the respect for that role like that at this time. I do expect the MCU to rectify that, but I
Yeah, I
don't
reckon they
think
will.
basically through early 2000s because it just wasn't. It was still the time where gatekeeping existed in the
Yeah,
heaviest
yeah.
of the heaviest way, and obviously a lot of the movement. So I don't think they respect. I don't think they respected Halle Berry outside of being a good-looking person to put into the film.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't have much to add to your guys because you guys have said, I think three of the ones I've said, which was
I just
Haley
want your
Berry.
order. I want your order, not
Oh, I,
not.
I don't
Yeah.
want my order. So I had Vinnie Jones because he can't act. Like that's he can't act. Yeah,
Keep it simple. Keep it
yeah.
simple.
I had James Marsden. Again, it's funny because when you see James Marsden in other things, he's got quite a high charm factor. Like he's really good at some of those kiddie stuff
Yeah,
and things like that. And when you see him do Sonic the Hedgehog, was it Sonic the Hedgehog he did? He
yeah,
kind of and when in Westworld where he played the innocent Teddy, you that's his
right.
wheelhouse there, not Cyclops. Um, and then you got Haley Berry. Um, then I've got in my top two Jean Grey, as done by Lannister. Not
Oh,
Lannister.
okay, okay.
Stark.
I was trying to figure out which one was it. Was it the Famicom
No,
Jensen one, or was
I
it?
thought Famika was so much better because
Yeah,
physically she had a look that she had a real look to her that there was trouble there, but she was beautiful.
yeah.
But she had those features about her that said I could be trouble. I could be like she. I really liked her look, and she played that pretty well. Even if the script in the last one didn't give her. Oh well, she really did do well in that role. I couldn't get into what's his name Stark as I've only seen bits of that movie. To be honest, I tagged out the
Sophie
last.
Turner. It's terrible. There's nothing to watch.
Yeah.
It's
So
it's it's so terrible.
I'm unapologetic. But when I saw bits of that and I looked at her and I just went, she just doesn't have that. She's not intimidating. She's not scary. She doesn't have darkness. Even when she played that kind of role in Game of Thrones, she got hard. Like she became like queen, the queen that didn't get married and she ruled over. She's the queen of the north, but she never had this evil bubbling up within her, kind of that could kill. And I
So
didn't
you,
buy it.
so for me, I had Sophie Turner initially, but my only drawback was I actually thought she was a good casting because she had the look. I think she was
Right.
a bad acting, and so it's like it ruined everything going forward. But I think she was an actual better casting
Right.
appearance wise than Famke Jensen.
Yep.
But I think Famke Jensen did a better job of portraying it and creating the vulnerability than
Yep.
Sophie Turner was able to do. Because I think
Yep.
Sophie Turner is a very stiff actress.
And you'll know as soon as I say it, because I've talked about it a couple of times before, is the younger version of Willem Stryker.
Yeah,
You
thought
know
about
how
that as
much
well
I
too, yeah.
loved Brian Cox. and that first line he says in that second movie about him fighting in the mud in the war portrays a warrior, like someone who is hardened and bitter about the world and he's seen in Vietnam. And then you go and see things, and then you see Stryker in Days of Future Past. He's walking around with a clean cut outfit on.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's got a single spot on him. And he looks like a deviant. He looks like a pervert. Like I just, you know what I mean? He doesn't like. I just thought. I really hope MCU can do it. I would have loved. Okay, this is me putting my writing hat on. I would have loved to have seen him somewhere in that movie fighting in the mud and the blood of Vietnam, and then running into Wolverine's crew.
Right.
And that being their first time, and just seeing Stryker as a bit of a war hero, someone who's fighting but lost his mates and lost his friends, and then seeing Wolverine or them just casually killing people because they can't, and then him just going, what the hell is this? And I just thought that could have been a beautiful arc. Instead, they just got a pervert. So that's he looks like, doesn't he? Like, with all due respect to the actor, he doesn't look like a hardened warrior. It looks like funny mouth.
I get it.
It could be a baddie, just not the one that we saw. Because Brian Cox, again, find out Brian Cox is probably impossible for most people.
Brian Cox is gritty,
and he's like, don't mess with that man. And the way he's portrayed in that X-Men 2, he's like, because remember, he gets the better of nearly he gets the better of Professor X, he gets the better of Magneto, and you've got to have, like, as I've said with most of these characters, even without superheroes, they would be intimidating and hard to beat and hard to kill.
Let's remind our friends to please click on the subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you know when we have new videos out.
Subscribe.
Subscribe!
I gotta be gone. Oh, God.